I wanted to give you an idea of how we're seeing the crisis at the moment, what we're thinking in terms of the portfolios, and how we're positioning. Originally, when I started thinking about what I was going to present to you today, I thought I'd give you a bit of a history lesson about how we got here. But I think I've done that so much in previous newsletters. For anyone who reads my monthly newsletter, I've spoken at length over the last few months about the situation we're finding ourselves in terms of markets and economics. And effectively, the bottom line is that the world economy was slowing and therefore was susceptible to an exogenous shock that would slow us further. Unfortunately, we've seen one of those. The problem is there's no real precedent to the shock we're seeing, as most crises we've seen over the last 100 years have been financial crises, which have gone on to affect the broader economies. So therefore, if you look at the GFC, it was a housing subprime problem, which caused a run on financial assets, which then fed into Main Street. This one is very, very different in there's a health crisis, which is affecting the economic growth patterns of so many economies, which is then feeding into the financial sector. And that's why it's very difficult to monitor and model and get an understanding of where it might go in the future. There's no good time for a pandemic such as this to hit economies, but arguably this is one of the worst times we could have possibly imagined. And the reason is the world economy was beginning to slow. And that was on the back of three reasons. Firstly, our strong belief is the Fed had over tightened at the end of the last cycle and hike rates materially more than they needed to. Secondly, the deleveraging we've been seeing out of China. And thirdly, the trade tariffs and the trade wars we've been seeing, which is slowing global growth. All of this at the same time as there have been significant monetary stimulus across the world, which have pushed risk assets up to unsustainable levels. As the true impact of the pandemic is now being seen in economic data, this has caused monetary authorities to respond as quickly as they can. But unfortunately, there is limited room for them to do so, as interest rates across the world are pretty much at zero anyway. But we have seen what they can do as the RBA and other central banks across the world, the Fed, RBNZ, etc., have slashed rates to zero and committed to leave them there for a prolonged period. But the focus has to be on fiscal authorities, and we've seen massive fiscal responses across the world already. We've seen huge packages out of Australia and the UK and the US, but we still believe that these packages will continue in size and will get to near unimaginable levels, maybe 20% of GDP or north. This is effectively the role of governments. Governments have to backstop the economy and backstop people's livelihoods. So this is what we're seeing in the UK, where the UK is effectively paying people's wages for those who can't go to work. When you have to make a choice as a government between stopping the economy or stopping having lives lost, there is only one choice. And you have to stop having lives lost as quickly as you can, and then do everything you can to try and help the economy through this situation. And that's what every government in the world is trying to do right now. This is not the time to panic with your portfolios. This is a time to trust in your managers. This is why you invest with us. And this is the period we're supposed to help and work for you. Whether you're a client or not, if there's anything that me or anyone at Pendle Group can do to help you or your business in these troubling times, please do not hesitate to get in contact. Thank you.